Chiefs Kingdom. Today I thought it would be a perfect time to take a break from the DeAndre Hopkins rumors, the Odell Beckham rumors, for now. Of course, we will come back around to it as long as they are available. Right now, we will discuss the draft, which we haven't had the chance to do on this channel. So what we are going to do today is I'm going to focus on 5 guys who caught my eye early on, and we'll discuss, we'll have fun. But before we do, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. I know y'all gotta be getting to your breaking point. I know y'all gotta be tired of hearing these DeAndre Hopkins, Odell Beckham rumors, because quite frankly, I'm kind of tired of talking about it. It feels like we're building our hopes up for something that just might come crumbling down. Of course, we'll continue to talk about it on this channel, but today will be the perfect time to take a little break and let's start discussing about the draft. So what we'll do here right now is discuss 5 players who caught my eye and I think will help continue to make the Kansas City Chiefs a Super Bowl contender and mostly help bolster this offense. Now, how I'm going to basically view this is they're not all going to be first round players. Majority of them will be, but I just want to basically enhance this offense. And of course, there'll be one guy on the defense. And also, I want to make kind of a side note as well as I'm not a college football fan like that. I don't get too heavily involved in the draft, so I'm not going to know much. I'm not a guru. I'm not a guy that you should guarantee and be like, oh, he said the Kansas City Chiefs should go after him, so they should. I'm not that type of dude. I'm just giving you my opinion, and I want to have fun, and I want to discuss, and also, too, I want you guys to drop some guys that you think would fit the Kansas City Chiefs very well in the comments down below, and I'll dive into them, and maybe we'll discuss them in a future video. Right now, let's discuss the 5 guys I have on my list. Coming in at number 5, and actually, it seems like a fan favorite because a lot of you have mentioned to me in the comments down below that you would love to have him on this team and you hope the Kansas City Chiefs draft him. So I had to check him out. And this is no other than Deuce Vaughn. And first thing you see about Deuce Vaughn is, if you could spot him, is he is a very small statured guy. But that doesn't take anything away from him whatsoever because he is a football player. First initial player he reminds everyone is because of his size is Darren Sproles. And Darren Sproles actually had some time in the Andy Reid offense, so I wouldn't be surprised if Brett Veach and Andy Reid are interested in a guy like him. And I think it's a good change of pace type of running back from Isaiah Pacheco to a Deuce Vaughn. The dude is explosive. The dude has hands. He takes it to the house no matter where he's at. He could be 10 yards away. He could be 80 yards away. He is definitely an athlete, and he's definitely someone that would fit this running back room in whole, I believe. And also, I think it'd be someone good for the future as well. I'm not talking about as an RB1 because the main questions that'll come out probably for Deuce Vaughn is, can his size, can his stature hold up in the NFL? We rarely frequently see it. We've seen it with a guy like a Darren Sproles. We've seen it with a Maurice Jones-Drew. But we don't tend to see guys that are like 5'6", 5'7", be ground and pound type of backs. And honestly, that's not how I view Deuce Vaughn. I view him as a strict receiving back. Kind of what we kind of expected from a CEH, where his role was supposed to be a receiving back, basically be the scapegoat for Patrick Mahomes when everything breaks down, when everyone is covered. Mahomes can rely on a dependable running back. Maybe that's what Deuce Vaughn can be, and you have Isaiah Pacheco being that grown man running through people and making a statement. I think that would be a beautiful 1-2 punch. And also, if you had 3 running backs moving forward, you could still bring Jerick McKinnon back, and Jerick McKinnon can basically coach him up, teach him his game, because Jerick McKinnon is not the biggest back at all either. He's bigger than Deuce Vaughn, who isn't, but also Deuce Vaughn excels in the pass catching game, which is what Jerick McKinnon does. And if you can get him up to speed on the pass pro and blocking, which is what Jerick McKinnon excels in, that would take it to the next level. That's one thing I don't know about Deuce Vaughn, and maybe you guys can get me smarter, get my knowledge up on him, is I don't know if he's a good pass pro blocker. Initially, I'm thinking no because he's 5'6", but again, small guys, they can have that small angry man syndrome and be pile driving through a lot of players, so I could be wrong too. But I think that would be an exciting draft pick if the Kansas City Chiefs decide to go in the Deuce Vaughn route. We switching the pace up completely here. Now, my next man up at number 4, we talked about the shortest player probably in the draft. Now we're going to talk about an absolute unit in Darnell Washington, tight end out of Georgia. This dude is a complete monster. He is a complete force. Nobody wants to tackle him. As I mentioned with Deuce Vaughn, players might not see him. Darnell Washington, you see him coming from a mile away and you want to get out of the way. Now, the interesting thing that I have with this, and I've seen a lot of Chiefs Kingdom, and I've seen you guys in the comments below too, mention that maybe the Kansas City Chiefs draft a tight end number 1 because Travis Kelce is getting older, so maybe they can mold another guy. And I've had a little pushback with that because Noah Gray, I feel like if he gets more snaps, he played tremendously actually last year to where the snaps he got, he didn't drop many balls. Actually, I don't think he dropped any last year. And I want to see him more with an enhanced snap count and see what he does with a bigger role in this offense. And then also you have Jody Fortson, who he's a fan favorite. We all have high hopes for him. So it'd be interesting to see what he meshes into in the future. He does have a little injury concern, which may open another tight end opportunity. And then you got Blake Bell, where I don't know if he's on the team at the moment, but come towards training camp time, the Kansas City Chiefs will probably bring him back on the roster. My thing is, with how full the room is right now, can the Kansas City Chiefs afford to add another body? And we know in this draft class, there are some absolute studs at the tight end position. It's actually very rare to see this many good tight ends come out. And Darnell Washington is like no other as well. Now, he may not be the most highly rated tight end coming into the draft, but man, if you just imagine him in this offense, he would be an absolute unit. He would be someone perfectly to mold under Travis Kelce, and you might have another tight end for another 10 to 15 years. And I'm not trying to write off Travis Kelce whatsoever. That's by the slightest of imagination. I hope Travis Kelce still has 5 years to go, and then we don't even have to discuss tight ends. But let's say you play the long game, which is what Brett Veach does. He likes to get these young drafted core players in. In Darnell Washington, you could run a 2 tight end set with him as well. Again, that's where I get indifferent with Chiefs Kingdom because I love Noah Gray. I feel like with an expanded role, as I mentioned, he could be that guy. But Darnell Washington's just a different beast that I've seen on the film. Like, he is a really, really great run blocker. And maybe that helps you fill in the void that maybe you don't bring a Blake Bell in. Maybe you draft a guy like him and you just move forward. And he's got hands. And he literally just looks like a literally 18-wheeler running straight down the middle that nobody wants to go against. And that would be a huge factor for this offense moving forward. I think the thing that is the biggest question for me, and maybe Chiefs Kingdom as well, is he could be a first-round pick or maybe early second-round pick. So what does that do? Like, I don't know if the Kansas City Chiefs use a first-round pick on a tight end. So that's going to be interesting to see moving forward. Hey, we still got a month away to the draft, so anything can happen, but Darnell Washington is definitely on my radar. Now we'll be flipping sides of the ball, and we'll be focusing on the defense. In Chiefs Kingdom, I hear you. I swear everybody in the kingdom hears you that you want a speed rusher. And who better than Nolan Smith to fill that hole? Literally, he is the perfect pass rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs. The only issue is, it looks like the Kansas City Chiefs would have to trade up for a Nolan Smith, and would it be worth it? The quick answer is yes, but also, how early will Nolan Smith be drafted? Literally, before the Combine, he would have been available to the Kansas City Chiefs. But now look at him. He's a 4.3 speed rusher. He's athletic freak, and he does everything on the field, it seems like. He goes after the quarterback. He gets the running back in the backfield. He knows how to get interceptions. He looks like he's exceptional in pass coverage for what it is for a pass rusher. He is an absolute unit for a pass rusher. And I believe in the NFL, he may translate to be an elite pass rusher, which is something the Kansas City Chiefs seem like they have been searching for since they moved on from Justin Houston, maybe the Tamba Hali days. I'm probably even going a little too later than that, but those are the first pass rushers that come to mind for me. And if you can have someone like a Nolan Smith paired up with a George Karlaftis, and maybe a Minihue, maybe he can play outside, maybe he can play inside. He's the guy who rotates around the whole defensive line, and then you still have Chris Jones. This defensive line would be deadly with Nolan Smith. I think it's all going to come down to, as I mentioned earlier on, is where is he projected to be drafted? He's looking like he could be a top 10 pick now, which may be a little too far of a stretch for the Kansas City Chiefs to get in that range. But if he's in that 15 to 20 range, we've seen it last year with Trent McDuffie. When Trent McDuffie fell to 20, the Kansas City Chiefs could not wait no longer, and they traded up. If that's the same kind of instance here, Nolan Smith might be a Kansas City Chiefs. At least we need to cross our fingers for it. This is the only defensive player I had on the list because it's really the only one that excites me so far out of anyone I have seen. But man, he would basically add another boost to this defense that they may need headed into 2023. You know me, I couldn't stay on the defense for too long. And these top two players that I have on my list are both wide receivers. And I'm going to focus on at number 2, which will catch a lot of people off guard that he's number 2, but it's Jackson Smith-Njigba. Yeah, the best wide receiver in the class. Now, the only reason I have him at number 2 is because I think it's a far shot and it's unrealistic. He's another guy kind of like Nolan Smith where he can get taken so early to like Tennessee at 12. And I don't know if the Kansas City Chiefs can trade up to there. But let's say the Titans don't take him. Maybe he slides a little bit and maybe the Kansas City Chiefs can make it interesting from there. But when you watch Jackson Smith-Njigba's tape, I think he's the best wide receiver to come out of Ohio State, better than Garrett Wilson and better than Chris Olave. I think he factors in both of their games, and then you get Jackson Smith-Njigba. He is a really great route runner. He doesn't have the top end speed, but he does have speed, and he's got really, really great hands. And maybe this is me like being bold at the moment, but if you paired Jackson Smith-Njigba with a Patrick Mahomes, I think he would be a top 10 wide receiver in this league year one. That's how elite of a talent Jackson Smith-Njigba is, where I think he could take the stage running in the NFL. I think he's a candidate for Rookie of the Year, no matter what team he is with. The dude is really, really gifted, and he would be so much fun to watch with Patrick Mahomes. As we mentioned, throughout this whole offseason, we're trying to make a perfect relationship for Patrick Mahomes and any of these free agent wide receivers or any of these wide receivers that they could trade for. We're going to do it in the draft too if the Chiefs don't have any action with the wide receivers. So Jackson Smith-Njigba will definitely be a name to watch. Also, if the Kansas City Chiefs don't trade for a DeAndre Hopkins or they don't sign an Odell Beckham Jr. Now, you're going to be really questioning how I said, how do I have 2 receivers at my top 2 spots, and I listed Jackson Smith-Njigba at number 2. For some reason, maybe I'm crazy, and I don't know why, but I feel Zay Flowers is the perfect fit in an Andy Reid offense. I've seen a couple highlights where it seems like he is running a play almost identical to the corn dog play that the Kansas City Chiefs ran in the Super Bowl. The dude has speed. He has hands. Now, he's not as complete of a receiver as Jackson Smith-Njigba, but the dude can be an exceptional, maybe even an elite talent with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. He seems very, very special. And this is another guy before the combine the Kansas City Chiefs may have easily been able to draft. Now, it looks like he could be taken from 18 to 24, which is kind of a sweet spot range. Because we've seen time in even last year, as I mentioned with I mentioned with Jackson Smith-Njigba, but with the trade with Trent McDuffie, the Kansas City Chiefs can get into that 20 range and trade up. And if they have their eyes on a Jackson Smith-Njigba or a Zay Flowers, they can go snap him. Zay Flowers, he's exciting to watch. If you haven't seen him yet, I recommend you go on YouTube. You will be stuck watching the man play, and he will literally look like he fits in a Kansas City Chiefs uniform. He may not be as big, but he reminds me a lot of A.J. Brown. The dude is physical for his side. He's just more explosive, and A.J. Brown is explosive. It's just, he makes some of the most unrealistic, uncontested catches that I have seen for a dude of his stature. And that is something the Kansas City Chiefs need to do. Like I mentioned, we are in the whirlwind of all these trade rumors with a DeAndre Hopkins, with Odell Beckham Jr. But realistically, the Kansas City Chiefs may not be full-fledged into one of those trades, and they might have their eyes set on a guy in the draft. It could be a Jackson Smith and Jigba. It could be a Zay Flowers. They may not want to lose any of that draft capital. So Chiefs Kingdom, I need you to brace with me, because you can have your hearts broken when the New England Patriots trade for DeAndre Hopkins, when Odell Beckham signs with the Jets, and you're wondering, what the hell is Brett Veach doing? He always has an answer, and he might have his guy in the draft, or there may be different trade candidates. With that, you let me know how you're feeling on my 5 guys I've listed. I got a whole lot of research to do, and I got a month to do it. So, Chiefs Kingdom, if there's players you are interested in me talking about, drop them in the comments down below. We will most definitely talk and discuss about it. But before I do sign out, I know y'all see it. I'm so close to 1,000 subscribers. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related. And if you did like this video, please give me that big thumbs up. Y'all take care.